I haven't gone out of my way to discuss a certain aspect of Destiny. I haven't done any videos that could be titled with my thoughts on, or having the word review in the title. But I've seen a bunch of talk about random roles and how their removal from the game ruined Destiny 2. Even before Destiny 2 was fully released just over a month ago, there were countless videos discussing how the lack of random roles would hurt Destiny. So I figured it's about time to sit down and talk about the loot in Destiny 2 and how the lack of random roles affects players. Right now, on screen is every single weapon available in Destiny 2. Well, at least every legendary. This includes Iron Banner, which was released not long ago, and the weapons from the Faction Rally, including those that appear in the API but aren't yet available. In total, there are 134 legendary weapons in Destiny 2, and of those, these 41 are the ones I don't have. And of these 41, 7 of them are from Iron Banner, which I'll get over this week, and 13 are not even possible to obtain yet, leaving about 21 weapons that I don't personally have. I mean, sure, it may be interesting to know that there are 130 plus legendary weapons, and you might have been curious as to how many I've gotten so far. But the main point here is that for a lot of players, completing collections is important, and this was an important part of Destiny 1, and equally as important in Destiny 2. However, in Destiny 1, not only would people aim to complete collections, but also every weapon had random rolls. And because of this, we had the opportunity to farm for a specific set of perks and search for that coveted god roll. Right now in Destiny 2, the biggest issue, in not only my opinion, but many members of the community, is the static rolls. Once you have a weapon, you just have that weapon. And the biggest thing that has left me scratching my head since Destiny 2's launch is this quote from Luke Smith. How can my 2nd, 3rd, and 10th Better Devils hand cannon be interesting? That's a question we should be asking and answering as quickly as we can. We have ideas. While I would like nothing more than to share those ideas with you, we're up against a deadline. I don't know if they'll make it for our September 6th release date, but we have some ideas that we're pretty excited about. Now, as the quote said, they weren't sure if they'd make it into the game at launch, and unless I'm missing a key feature that the entire community has somehow kept secret from me, it seems as though it didn't make it into the game at launch, which gives me hope for the future. But that leads to the question of how far into the future will this feature be added, which I can only assume is concerning for a lot of people. I've seen suggestions as to how to fix the problem of static rolls without removing static rolls, and one of the most common things I've seen is saying that Bungie, quote, just needs to add hundreds of weapons into the game. This solution, in my opinion, is impossible and just simply won't work for many reasons. As I stated earlier in the video, there are 134 legendary weapons in the game, 121 of which are currently obtainable, and of those 121, only 13, these 13, account for 35.16% of all kills in the Crucible. And if we include the Mida multi-tool and the Vigilance Wing into that statistic, these 15 weapons account for 72.6% of all kills in the Crucible. That means 10.7% of all weapons, including exotics, account for 72% of all kills in the Crucible, meaning that no matter what, there will always be meta weapons. If this 10.7% trend follows into the addition of new weapons, if the current total of 153 doubles to 306 weapons, only 32 would be considered good. You double it again and only 64 weapons would be considered good. In order to have a weapon pool of good weapons equal to that of the current weapon pool of 153, Bungie would need to add over 1,400 legendary weapons into the game. Asking Bungie to model and design 1,400 new weapons with different static rolls, with different archetypes, where each one feels unique, all of them feel good to use, and they all feel powerful is a complete waste of time and effort, especially if they could be dedicating that time to improving the game as a whole. So that solution is out. Bungie, no matter how much money you think they have, no matter how much people gripe about reskins, no matter how easy you think it is to, quote, just add more weapons, it's simply not possible, and we are still at square one when it comes to fixing the problem. So the next logical solution is to just add random rolls back into the game. Ignoring any systems Bungie may have redesigned to create the static rolls in Destiny 2's engine, this doesn't exactly fix the problem. If we look just at legendary hand cannons, we have these 14 weapons. These 14 weapons alone, based on their current static rolls, have 4 possible intrinsic perks, 9 possible perks in the first column, 13 possible perks in the second column, and 12 possible perks available in the third column. If we're just talking hand cannons with random rolls, that would create 78,624 different hand cannons. And sure, that number doesn't account for the fact that you can get 3 different sight perks and 2 perks to choose from in the second column, but bare bones, by adding random rolls based on the perks in the database for hand cannons currently in the game, we'd up the number of hand cannons from 14 possibilities to 78,624. And for some people, that is what they want. They want to go out and farm a bunch of legendary weapons and hope they get that one perfect god roll. But with 78,624 possibilities on hand cannons alone, how many of those possibilities are good? How many are god rolls? That doesn't make the end game better, it just makes it take longer to get to. I know there's plenty of you that like that certain weapon right now. Maybe you're a PvE player who loves your Nameless Midnight, or maybe you like your Curtain Call. Maybe you're a Crucible guy who really likes Uriel's Gift. If you are a player who likes a weapon that you have right now, but also wish random rolls were back, are you okay with knowing that if random rolls had stayed in the game, your weapon that you have right now, in hindsight, is a 1 in 70,000 chance? If you are, that's fair, and I have nothing against you, but it's something you should keep in mind when making bold suggestions and jumping the gun when saying you want the old system back. Remember, going back to hand cannons, there are this many possibilities, and you want this one. This is the one, this is the roll you want. This is the god roll. Now, I know that was an extreme example of me copy-pasting the same image of a hand cannon 78,624 times and highlighting one and putting an arrow showing you where it's at using an editing software, but it drives my point home. And yes, for anyone asking, there are 78,624 on screen, and yes, it took a long time to do. And no, I don't want to talk about it. Let's move on. Ultimately, in my opinion, bringing back random rolls by themselves isn't the solution to the problem either. So what is the solution? And to be completely honest, I don't know what is the best solution, but I do have a possible solution, or at the very least a suggestion as to how I would fix the problem. Going back to Luke Smith's quote of how can my 2nd, 3rd, and 10th Better Devils hand cannon be interesting? For a baseline group, I would want nothing to change. This gives every player, both casual and hardcore, a guaranteed Better Devils with extended mag, flared magwell, explosive payload, and the same 3 sight perks that it has right now. This gives the casual player a good baseline roll and a good weapon to use. However, for the hardcore, we bring back reforging. And I know a lot of people either agreed with me or hate me for making this suggestion. But before you freak out, the system would be heavily modified. As I stated, the Better Devils, every time it dropped, would drop with the static rolls we have now. However, on the second drop of a Better Devils, it's when it gets interesting. It would still have the same static rolls, but we can now take both the Better Devils we have to a vendor, and we are now able to choose a singular perk to re-roll. Maybe you like explosive payload, but really want to have high caliber rounds instead of flared magwell. For the price of a duplicate of the weapon, in this case a 2nd Better Devils, and 5 legendary shards, which would introduce a legendary shard sink into the game, but this isn't the topic, you can have a chance to re-roll flared magwell into high caliber rounds if you choose so. Now, of course, this goes back to the 78,624 possibilities, and with enough farming, you could constantly change a weapon, and this is true and is not what I personally want to implement. What I want is that once a perk is changed, regardless of the outcome, you would no longer be able to change that weapon. Meaning if you wanted to reforge the Better Devils again, for example, you would need 2 more Better Devils to do so, making your 3rd and 4th Better Devils interesting, making your 5th and 6th interesting, just as Luke Smith said in his quote. Of course, once you got the roll you were looking for, you'd stop. But worst case, if you don't like the idea of reforging, you still have a weapon that rolls the same way every time, that in the case of the Better Devils that I used in this example, is still a good weapon. The way Destiny 2's loot system works makes this possible. We all know if we want the Scathelocke auto rifle, the best thing to do is to go farm tokens in the EDZ. If we want Uriel's Gift, we head to Nessus. This not only would give players a reason to farm multiples of the same weapon, it also gets people to try out new weapons. I can almost guarantee there's probably a ton of the legendary weapons that are available in the game that would be really good if just one perk was different. And ultimately, it gets us, the players, out into the different aspects of the game, onto different planets, completing activities we normally wouldn't do, and at least in my opinion would make the endgame feel more fleshed out. Now this is just a suggestion, and in no way is the only solution to the problem. For me personally, if nothing changes, the grind would get less rewarding once I get every weapon and armor piece, but it wouldn't stop me from playing. Sure, if they just added random rolls back into the game, I'd be okay with this entirely, and it would get me out farming for god rolls. And of course, if Bungie implements something completely different, I'm sure I would enjoy it. But I wanted to get my thoughts on the topic into a video and share it with you guys. Regardless of what happens, I still enjoy Destiny and will enjoy it for a while. Now, like always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button, and if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. Also, down in the description for quite some time has been a link to the Multilux Destiny clan, but recently, that clan has hit its cap of 100 members. I've had a lot of people ask to join the clan over the past few days, and I've had to tell them they can't join because the clan is full. So if you're looking for a clan to join, I created Multilux 2, which has plenty of room for everyone that wants to join. So if you're looking for a clan, link to both of my community clans can be found in the description, and as always, I want to thank you for your continued support. If you're curious as to what's coming down the pipeline for videos, like every week, I got a Zerg video coming tomorrow, and a new project over the weekend, and possibly a second project in a single week shortly after that. So be on the lookout for those. But with all that said, I'm gonna get out of here, say my name is Matt, and I'll see you guys next time.